Hey everybody, it's Gil here at the Sailing Vessel DreamChaser, and in last week's episode, we showed you how we do maintenance on some sea strainers and gave you a little tip and trick on how we prime them to make it a little easier to get them started back up. This week I'm going to spend a little bit of time and talk about why I've been in New Jersey so long. I'll go into a little bit of details. It might be a little bit personal. I hope you guys are okay with that, but I'll just share what's going on with us. So we grew up in New Jersey up into middle and high school, my sister and I. My dad still lives in New Jersey. He's 80 years old, healthy, lives on his own, shovels his own driveway when it snows, mows his own lawn, 100% independent, lives on his own. He had a little bit of a medical issue. He found out he had a cyst on his pancreas. Turns out it was benign. That's great news, but they're risky and they can potentially turn cancerous. So the recommendation from the doctor was to remove it. Again, he's fairly healthy, so this was going to be sort of a risk surgery for an 80-year-old, but frankly, we thought everything would be just fine. They removed the cyst. They also removed his spleen, and that surgery kind of went off without a hitch. It was scheduled to be a 6 to 7 hour surgery. It was done in about 3.5 hours, and he was back up in a recovery room later that day, talking with us, sitting up the whole bit. Unfortunately, my dad also has AFib, same thing that I have. I'll go into a little bit more detail on what that is a little later. It's intermittent for him, and unfortunately in his sort of deteriorated condition from the surgery, that AFib kicked in. It didn't get good blood circulation to a lot of the rest of the body, and he started to get pretty unhealthy, and it got frankly bad. I asked my sister to come up because I really thought this was bad. We had planned this. I was going to come up and stay a week while he was in the hospital and a week for him at home while he recovered, and sort of expected to go back home. But it got a little bit scary, and they had to put a tube in to help him breathe, and he needed to be on dialysis to help his kidneys, and they were trying to get his heart back into its regular rhythm. They tried doing the electrocardio version, right, the shocking, and that didn't work. And things deteriorated fairly quickly. Within about 3 days, we didn't know, honestly, if he was going to make it. It was really scary. Luckily, he's been continuing to improve, and he's off the ventilator and the breathing tube. He's off the dialysis. His heart is back in regular rhythm, and as the body has healed, it's removed some of those stresses, and he's getting significantly better. So that is wonderful, wonderful news. But this planned stay for 5 to 6 days in the hospital has significantly changed. We're at about day 25 right now, and as you can imagine, 25 days in the hospital, you get weak, and that's where he's at right now. So Dad now has been doing physical therapy at the hospital. It's fairly limited just because he is so winded and so weak from being in the bed right now. They do get him up out of the bed. He stands up with a walker, takes a couple of side steps, and then sits down in a chair. He's doing leg lifts and arm lifts and all these things to help get him back to his strength. The great news is the prognosis is he's expected to make a full recovery and be able to be back home on his own. But I think the timeline is significantly longer. He's probably another week or two in the hospital, I'm speculating. And then from there, he's going to have to go to a skilled nursing sort of live-in rehabilitation center for some amount of time until he can gain all of his strength back to be able to sort of survive on his own. I'm going to stay here as long as that takes. Luckily, my job is flexible. It's one of the wonderful things about it, and that means I can work from here just like I can work from home. So I'm doing that. I miss the family terribly, but look, it's the right thing to do, and you do what you need to do for loved ones for sure. So I'll be here for a while longer. From a content perspective, I'll just tell you, Deb's doing some of the things on the boat. I may have some scenery and things here, and I know it's not what a lot of you folks have subscribed to the channel for, but at the end of the day, my life, and that's kind of what's important. So that's what's going to be part of it. Honestly, filming these little things is a great respite for the realities of sitting at the hospital every day for a couple hours for a visit after work. It is a nice change of pace, and it helps get my mind sort of clear of any negative thoughts. So while my sister has been in town, we did take an opportunity to just spend some time together. It's funny, as you get older, my sister and I do a lot of things together. We see each other at holidays, and we've gone on little trips together and all this kind of stuff. But it's usually me and my wife and my sister and her husband. And we got to spend 7 days together with just the two of us. And we joked around like we were both ready to see each other go. But it was really, really cool spending time with her. And we went and saw childhood memories, and we went to favorite restaurants. As a matter of fact, this place I'll show you the menu from, we went to this little place called Vic's. It was an Italian place that my dad and his wife used to love to go to, Marlene. And it was a funny story. We were in there one time, and as we were walking from sort of one dining room to the next, Marlene sort of stumbled and tripped over like just the threshold right there, kind of flat surface. So we teased her about it a lot. And she used to say, "Oh, I tripped over the edge of the carpet," and we said, "Hey, you tripped over a couple glasses of wine with dinner," and it was just a running joke. But Deb and I ended up going back to Vic's. We had to do it, and of course, as I walked out of the restaurant, I had to do the little, the little tumble step right there as I did it. She never fell. It was just a stutter step, but it's funny, those little memories that just stick in your head, and that was one of them for sure for both of us. And the beaches are all closed right now for the winter, but look pretty cool to see the beach. We used to go a lot when we were kids. So Deb and I took a little break from the hospital and we came out to Point Pleasant Beach. It's kind of cool. The pavilions and whatnot are down there, but we're walking out to dinner somewhere. Hi. So Dad's doing a little bit better today. He is having a new line put in the main artery for the dialysis. And that procedure and the dialysis takes several hours, and they wanted him to sort of stay still and not move around to kind of increase the flow. So Deb and I took a little break, and we've come along Point Pleasant Beach, and we're at the Shrimp Box having lunch. So kind of nice little seafood place, waterfront. Let me show you what it looks like. So we sat right here along the waterfront. It was really nice. Look right out. You could see the fishing boats right there. And it was definitely a nice little respite from sitting in the hospital. So it was good to spend a little time with Sis and get some nice seafood while we were there. After eating, we decided to go ahead and walk back toward Jenkins Pavilion and check out what was on the boardwalk. And we noticed a couple of these big dredging and fishing boats and stuff out here. It was windy as could be, though. You can actually see the rocking chairs on the boardwalk moving around. So Sis and I both have a sweet tooth, and we thought, we saw an ice cream shop. We'll go look at it. But look at all these gummy worms they had. This was just a complete candy shop, like even really decadent looking things. And then all of these individual chocolates. Caramel apples, and I don't know, they had M&Ms and Reese's and caramel and chocolate. Hell, they even had chocolate high-heel shoes. And these giant chocolate lollipop things. After lunch in Point Pleasant, my sister and I just drove all over. We went sightseeing in Point Pleasant and Brick and Seaside Heights and Tom's River, and we just looked at all the things that we did as kids growing up. We also wanted to go see if we could find my step-grandparents' house. They had one of these houses that had the water in the back, the canal in the back, and the driveway in the front. And when we would go over there, we would swim in that canal all the time. And I think back to one of the things we used to do. It's so gross when I look back at it now. But it would be me and my stepbrother and my sister and my stepsister, and we would catch these little tiny jellyfish. They were just like little blobs about the size of a golf ball, not tentacles or anything, just a little like blob thing. We would catch those things, and my stepbrother would chase those poor girls around and throw those things on them. How horrible is that? But it's funny, the little memories you remember as a kid. So this gray house on the right here was the house they used to have. And again, it's right on the waterfront. Deb says, "Stop so I can take a picture." I stopped right in front of the tree. She's giving me a hard time. She's like, "I wanted to picture the house, not the tree." So I backed up, but boy, it was fun. We had a good time in that house. We'd swim, and heck, I told you about throwing jellyfish on each other. So when we were kids, my mom used to work at this hotel. She was like a banquet manager, and we would come up here after school, and we would swim in the pool while they set up all the banquet rooms. It was cool memories for me and my sister. We would go in the sauna and the hot tub and the arcade, and I can remember when she would work really late, we would sleep underneath the banquet tables where they have the skirting on the side of it. Anyway, it used to be a Holiday Inn, I think, and now it's not even a Days Inn. It's a Days Hotel or something, so God only knows. I don't know what it's like inside. And they clearly added on to it because the pool used to be on this back corner, and I don't even see that now. So when we were kids, my mom used to work at this hotel. She's cracking herself up. So while my sister and I were visiting with my dad and just kind of doing a little sightseeing from the areas that we grew up in, wife Deb was taking care of everything back on the boat. It's comforting knowing that everything's taken care of.
So every morning I've been driving by this church, and it's really cool looking. It's actually a Russian Orthodox church. Let me show you what it looks like. It's really cool. Like even there's like a little bell tower with all the manual bells in it. I'd love to hear that. It'd be neat. So look how ornate this is. I'm going to try and zoom in. It's got these gold spires on them, if that's what they call it. And then right over here on this left-hand side, there's like a stairwell that goes up in that angled piece. And you can kind of see one bell there. Behind the trees, there's some more. There's a giant mosaic up there with gold on it. And then there's more spires and a cross. You can kind of see them through the trees there. Really cool looking Russian Orthodox church. So every morning I've been driving by this church. Damn it. Can I say damn it when I'm talking about a church? Every morning I've been driving by this church. It's a rough.
So Deb and I decided to go ahead and get Japanese takeout. We found this place not too far from Dad's house. Look at this place. This is the lobby and waiting area of this particular restaurant. It's like a museum in here with photos and all this, like, I don't know, stuff. Heck, look at this. Even out in the area where people seat before you go on the other side of the wall to the big tables. Look at this setup. It's crazy. Apparently the hand signal of "talk to the hand" originated in Japan. Hold it, don't let it fall.
It's getting heavy.
Don't let it fall. The other day I was sitting at the hospital with my stepsisters, and I was making the comment of the weird things you remember when you were a kid. And for some reason, I happened to remember that along the parkway at mile marker 111, they had these weird things where there was like chain link fences on the side of the road. And I don't know why I remembered that this happened at mile marker 111, but I'll be darned. As I took Sis back to the airport, that's exactly what we saw, and I recorded it, and that little green sign on the right just beforehand said mile 111. After my dad really started recovering, a week had gone by, my sister went back to Texas, went back to work, and I decided I would stay. Again, it was great getting to spend time with my sister. I wish it would have been under different conditions, but frankly, it was kind of cool having the visit. So thank you, Sis, for all your help when you were here, for sure, for sure. Meanwhile, back on the boat, Deb set up a dance party for McKinley. So she moved the table out of the way, and McKinley was dancing around and then playing with the cat and climbing in the cupboards and doing all the other crazy stuff she does. It's funny watching these little fast motion videos of half of a day going by. Growing up in New Jersey, the night before Halloween was called Mischief Night, and you used to play pranks on people. Well, when we were kids, this place called Leisure Village, which was like a retirement community, had a big fountain right in front of that sign there. And on Mischief Night, me and my friends would cross the road with a couple of big jugs of dish soap, and we would put it in there so that the suds would be running down that hill. With Dad starting to improve, I really wanted to start going around and taking a look at some of these skilled nursing rehabilitation facilities. I didn't want a chance kind of getting caught behind the eight ball when they say, okay, he's ready to go, and I didn't have places selected. So I got a hold of his insurance, found a bunch of the places that were covered. We went and visited several of them, and the day before Easter, I went to one that was in Brick. That's the town where we grew up. And my mom always loved these crumb buns. It was like a pastry sort of cake or bread type thing with like a strudel or something on top, like a crumb topping. And as a kid, that was always a delicious sort of dessert kind of thing that we would have. Anytime we're here, my mom's like, oh, make sure you bring me some crumb buns home. So Deb had already flown home. She brought some home to my mom, but I wanted to see if I could find a place in Brick that had better ones. And I found this little place called Elise's Bakery. I have no idea if it's been around a while or anything, but it was packed. This was the day before Easter, and that might have had something to do with it. But the line went all the way along the counter and out the door. I saw that. I'm like, the heck with it. I went and just visited the skilled nursing center. And when I came back, the line was now just to the door. So I went in. It's one of these like old fashioned, like at the deli, you take a number and they call it. So I grab a number. It's like 36 and they're calling like 12. And I look down on the table and there's a tag that says 19 sitting right on the table next to it. I'm like, hot dog. So I grabbed my number 19. But just look at how many people were in here. I'll show you a video of it I took as I was leaving. It was crazy. But they were delicious. And at some point in the upcoming weeks, I'm stopping back there and getting some more for myself. This place is crazy busy. Meanwhile, back in Louisiana, they were calling for some really high winds with 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts. You can kind of see this is just over a 2-minute period right here in this video. Lucky for us, it didn't turn out bad at all, short of that little chair blowing up there. Well, I hope you didn't find this video too personal. Like I said, this is kind of an interesting little community we've built on this channel, and people ask from time to time kind of what's going on with us in our lives, and this is a pretty big deal for us. So I figured I would share it. Hopefully it didn't bother anybody on the channel, and now you kind of have a little insight into what's going on with us. From Gil in New Jersey, and Deb and all the girls back aboard sailing vessel Dream Chaser, safe sailing, everybody.